So this truly begs the question, why do we sleep, right? From an evolutionary lens, and to answer any question, you have to look at it through an evolutionary lens. You can't eat, okay? This is a prerequisite for survival. You can't mate. We all know that sex is the engine of the evolutionary process, and that's a big no-no. You can be eaten while you're in this semi-conscious and unconscious state. So there's some serious cost to doing this for as much as we do it. That's led sleep researchers such as Ross Chafin to say that if sleep does not serve an absolute vital function, then it is the biggest mistake the evolutionary process ever made. These are bold words, but words I think worthy of consideration. The issue is confounded even more when we look at how much variability there is in the animal kingdom in terms of how sleep is expressed. So for example here, the brown bat sleeps almost 20 hours out of its 24-hour circadian cycle. This adorable little hedgehog here clocks in at 16 hours. And the giraffe only sleeps 4.5 hours out of the day. It's bizarre, but I guess if I was sleeping with my head on my ass, I would only get about 4.5 hours of sleep in a day anyway. So if you're an herbivore, you're going to sleep less than a carnivore. This is sort of intuitive, right? If you're the apex predator, you're the one setting the speed limits on what other animals are going to be able to sleep. If you have a fast metabolism, such as this common tree shrew, you're going to sleep less than animals that have a slower metabolism, such as this sloth, three-toed sloth. So ecology, all these kind of big players that I just mentioned right now, ecology sets the limits on quantity, on total sleep time. Once you have that parameter set, though, within that, that's where quality comes in. And this is where primates actually shed a lot of light, perhaps, on why we sleep the way we sleep. Humans are bizarre. We're bizarre for lots of reasons. But one of the things that makes us unique is, that, as you can see in the top there, we actually sleep the least out of every primate yet recorded. That's kind of counterintuitive, right? Because we think sleep is good. Yet, we have the highest proportion of REM sleep. By far. 25% of the night we spend in REM sleep. And remember I talked about the cost associated with low quality sleep versus high quality sleep? We're really vulnerable when we're in this state. So something had to happen during our evolutionary trajectory. Perhaps that transition from our Australopithecine ancestors that were in the trees. When that transition occurred and we came on the ground and we were full-time terrestrial, perhaps that was when we had this shift in sleep quality. So in fact, human sleep may be unique, and maybe the take-home point here is that for us, it's quality over quantity. It's really interesting. A lot of the most recent avant-garde research in terms of how to treat PTSD is actually sleep therapy. So what might be going on here is you have a very traumatic event. So you're a soldier, you're in combat, and you experience a traumatic event. What's going on is the traumatic event itself is not allowing you to get a normal sleep pattern because you're agonizing over it. One of the functions of sleep is actually removing the emotional valence from a memory. It's processing it. It's stripping the emotional oomph, like Steve likes to say, the emotional oomph from the memory itself. And over a long enough time, the idea is that you get the memory without that painful emotion. But if your sleep is disturbed, you're not processing it, right? So a lot of the therapies that are going towards that are light therapies and maybe melatonin therapy that allows them to achieve their normal sleep pattern. So it's kind of like the classic paleo version of memory manipulation of what Steve's doing in the lab right now. It's when your mom says sleep on it, you'll feel better in the morning. There's actually some scientific truth to that.